Thank you very much, Catherine, for your presentation that touched my heart very deeply. And thank you, Anne Fonfa, for inviting me to this conference. And thank you, dear cancer thrivers, you in the audience, you who are challenged with cancer yourself. And thank you very much, dear colleagues, for coming here and exchanging your knowledge with all who came here and with myself. I'm excited to give you my presentation about the cancer field theory, as I call it, and to exchange ideas, thoughts, knowledge with you after my presentation and during this conference. What we're doing is we start an awareness movement. There needs to be established a new cancer awareness, and I find this very, very important because the kind of thoughts that are connected to cancer as a disease, the way one responds as a layman to the word cancer, or if you hear it from your doctor, sorry, I have to tell you, we found cancer cells in your body. All the thoughts and the emotions and the mindset around the word cancer needs to be changed drastically because we're disinformed, we're not well informed by the media that dominate the field. So I'm so excited to be a part of this movement in the United States and for the first time be able to speak in front of an audience in your country. I've met many patients from the United States who came to our clinic, and well, let's start my presentation, and thank you for coming. I call it the cancer field theory and the 12 factors of a holistic cancer and immunotherapy approach. And what I'm going to present to you today is what I came to learn in the last 30 years of my various encounters with patients suffering from this illness. Complex is the word. It's a very, very complex biology we dive into in this following 45 minutes. And because it's so complex, we need to address the different aspects that I bring to this presentation, to this lecture. And I hope that this can widen our understanding, your understanding of what is needed to reverse a cancerous disease and to establish health again. The headline of this conference is Immunotherapies in Complementary Alternative Medicine in the Treatment of Cancer. So let's look at the story and how it begins. Some 15 years ago, I read for the first time in my life that cancer is a disease that does not fall like a star from the blue heaven. It is already in our body from the day we're born, not as a disease, but as the phenomenon of cancerous cells. Cancer cells occur in every human body all the time. And that phrase changed my way to look at cancer quite drastically. Because if that's the case, and not everybody develops the disease called cancer, there must be something in our body that keeps us alive and that deals with this phenomenon that cancer cells occur in every body every day. The number, by the way, I read in various articles is some 1,000 cells. So everybody here in this room is producing a few thousand cancer cells today. That's an interesting fact, isn't it? So who takes care of the cells that my body allows to come into existence today? It's my immune system. A healthy immune system eliminates these cells the same day they occur, and that's what keeps the healthy balance alive. We call it homeostasis. It's a Greek word that describes the up and down of a healthy procedure in my body that produces a few cancer cells and takes care of the cancer cells through the activity of my immune system. And this is health. Health is not the 100% absence of cancer cells in a human body. No, it's the way to deal with the few cells that occur every day in a healthy manner. Keep that in mind, because that will help us to define the goal in the treatment of cancer. It's not the 100% elimination of cancer cells. So the immune system and cancer as a disease, not as a cellular phenomenon, is caused by a deep change of many biological conditions of the entire organism around it, around the cells, and what I called the biofield. I studied medicine in Germany in the 80s, and the term biofield was not on my curriculum. There was no term for this essential concept of health that we speak about in traditional Chinese medicine, in Ayurvedic medicine, where we call it Qi, the power of life, or prana, same in Sanskrit. Western world medicine lost the concept of primordial vital force that causes us to live. Western world medicine fell into materialism and reductionism, and that's what we learn at med school since, I would say, 150 years back in time. No concept of the power of life. In a medical training, in a medical education in a Western world country. We start with looking at particles, molecules, details of the physical body. We learn hundreds, if not thousands, of medical biochemical reactions by heart, but we never ask ourselves what power drives the biochemical reactions. It's like looking at or listening at a piece of music, imagine a symphony by Mozart, and as an explanation how this symphony comes about, we look at the sheet notes and says it's about these black dots on a piece of paper. We don't ask ourselves who plays the music. So that's my term, biofield. And this biofield, this bioterrain, includes 12 factors that cause healthy cells to transform into cancer cells and change the self-defense program of our immune system at the same time. So let's split it up into two parts. Number one, another phrase in between. Together, these factors form what I call a cancerous field instead of a biofield that is healthy. So the cancerous field allows the transformation step by step by doing two things. Number one, by damaging the cell's energy system, cause changes in the nucleus of the DNA information of the cell, so-called mutations of the cellular genes, and number two, block the body's immune reaction, the natural immune defense against cancer cells. A chapter that is in modern immunology called concomitant immunity, which is really as interesting as a criminal story, because what happens is that on the way of carcinogenesis, on the way of producing cancer cells, the body changes the way the immune system acts completely, from attacking cancer cells to allowing cancer cells to be in the body to supporting cancer cells and protecting them. Yes, you heard right. The immune system of somebody who lives in a stage 3 or a stage 4 cancerous disease protects cancer cells. And that is what we need to change. How is what you will hear in a few minutes when we come to treatment aspects. So, if we have a map of the factors that change the biological terrain and allow cells to move from healthy to cancerous, and at the same time from attacking cancer cells to allowing them to exist, to protecting them out from our immune system, if we have that map, then we know what to change in order to change this cancer-allowing field. And this is my point. Only a deep and effective change of these factors can reverse the cancerous field of the organism that suffers from cancer overgrowth and activate our natural immune defense against cancer, because it's our nature to be healthy. It's our nature to have a few cancer cells in our body and to keep them under control of a healthy immune system. So healing cancer is to move back into the natural state of being in balance. Follow me through these 12 factors and how to change them in order to heal the organism and restore the vital field. But first, let's look at the word immune system. Where does it come from? It comes from the Roman army. The immunists were specialized soldiers in the Roman army, and they were exempt from the more tedious tasks of other soldiers, and they were specialized. They were craftsmen, artillerymen, musicians, hunters, medical staff, and they got a better pay than the regular soldiers. So that term was taken from the Roman army into the human physiology to pinpoint that there are special cells that deserve a special pay to protect our body in a very special way. And the knowledge about our immune system grows daily. It's enormously complex. And that caused that I changed my understanding of cancer as a disease with a weakened immune system to a more modern view where the immune system is not only weakened, it's totally out of whack. It's totally out of balance. So just boosting the immune system, just making it stronger, doesn't solve the problem. Imagine that the immune system is the police and the cancer cells are the bad guys in a suburb of your town that is not so well organized. If the bad guys hide because you cannot differentiate them from the good ones, from the nice behaving citizens in your town, the police just doesn't find them. And if you send the police to a gym so they get big muscles and you give them modern weapons, they still can differentiate the bad ones from the good ones. And that's the problem with our immune system and cancer cells. The immune system has lost the ability to differentiate which cells to attack and which cells to protect. Our knowledge about the immune system grows daily, as I said, and here's just are a few cells mentioned on this slide that belong to the immune system. We divide our immune system into an innate immunity that is inherited, that gives us a rapid response to invaders, bacteria, viruses, foreign particles, foreign cells that don't belong to our body. And there is the adaptive immune system that needs a few days to create a powerful specific reaction against the influenza virus, for instance, or another infectious disease. And it gives a slow response, but it keeps a memory alive that whenever we meet this foreign particle again, the virus of the same type, we have these memory cells that allow us to attack the infectious particles very fast. This is only some of the immune cells that you see on this slide. Immunologists differentiate 250 different surface markers, and the list grows every month, I would say. We find a new marker and call them cluster of differentiation 1 to cluster of differentiation 250 is the latest I've seen, CD markers. And you can't imagine how many interactions immunologists have found between these 250 types of immune cells. So, as I said in the beginning, complex is the word, and there is no immunologist who knows everything. In fact, scientists have guessed that the current knowledge about our immune system may be some 4% of what we expect to learn in the future. So everything you can read about immunology today is estimated to be maybe some 4% of the whole picture. And that is today, the 1st of March 2019. So if I cannot give you all the answers, that's why. And yesterday I had a very nice conversation with one of you who told me, sorry, I don't know the answer of this question. And I responded, if you knew it, you were the only one. It was a question about immunology. But we know something, and we know enough to take action to make healing possible. And this is the next step. of my presentation. Carcinogenesis is the word for the upcoming of cancer cells in the human body. And to the left upper corner, you see a tissue in white color or yellowish white color that represents a healthy tissue. You see the cells there. And if you follow the arrow down, you see that some of these cells turn red, indicating in this symbolic slide that they turn into a cancerous behavior. And the next step, if you follow the arrow, is that some immune cells go there, the T cells, the macrophages, the NK cells, the natural killer cells, and take care of the deviating cells and stimulate them to go into apoptosis, the natural self-death of a cell, which is something that got lost in cancer cells, by the way. A cancer cell is a cell that has not enough energy to have the possibility to die in a natural way. We get back to that a little later, but keep that in mind. A cancer cell has given up the possibility to die. It became literally immortal as long as the entire organism is alive. But the immune cells cause the cancer cell to switch on apoptosis again, and as long as the circumstances in the body are healthy, this natural healing happens all the time, and the tissue is reorganized and reformed into a healthy tissue. You see that? This circle. Yeah, here the angle is very narrow. I can't, here from down and up. And as long as this circle is stable, we call it homeostasis, and we're healthy. But if certain factors come into the picture and dominate the biofield, and these factors will be shown in a minute, this natural healing doesn't happen. And the immune cells lose their ability and their power and their strength to find the cancer cells and to heal it in a very early stage. And cancer cells grow under the radar line of the immune system. And after a year or 2 or 3 at the longest, a cancerous lump will be detectable in the human body, and that's when the patient goes and sees a doctor and gets diagnosed. So 2 to 3 years before this natural healing has stopped to be effective and allowed cancer cells to grow step by step. So the question, of course, is what has happened? What changed the immune system's way to keep cancer under control? This is a famous slide, an electron microscopy picture of a cancer cell that is attacked by a number of T cells, T lymphocytes. So the cancer cell in the middle is the yellow one. The magnification here is around 20,000 times. And one of these cells almost reaches out a hand. It looks like a hand with fingers to the cancer cell. And this is what should happen in this very moment in my body a few hundred times, and during this day a few thousand times. So let's hope my body will do this even today. What happened if that does not heal my body from cancer every day? What blocks the immune cells of doing their job? That's a very important question. And here's a little video that you find on YouTube if you look for metastasis and angiogenesis. Angiogenesis is the production of vessels around a tumorous lump. And it shows us how the immune system eliminates cancer cells in a healthy body. So the purple lump is a bunch of cancer cells, and here one cell escapes into the blood vessel, and the white blood cell comes and ingests the cancer cell. And I show this video to my patients frequently to give them an idea how to do an inner visualization and to enhance the power of your immune system through the strength of your thoughts. Many of you will remember Dr. Carl Simonton, who was a radio-oncologist from Los Angeles and a pioneer in psycho-immuno-oncology. And I got to know Carl Simonton on seminars in Germany, and he became a teacher of mine in psycho-oncology. And this was one of his favorite topics, to recommend his patients to visualize the interaction of your immune system with your body, and to give your immune system the power of your mind, of your thoughts. So this is an example how you can do that. Once again, cancer cell escapes, but the immune system finds it inside a blood vessel and ingests it. And again, my question is, why does this reaction not happen effectively? If you suffer from cancer, if you develop metastasized cancer, this reaction has not happened in your body powerfully enough. And the question is why? So in the center here of this slide, you see a human body, and it's surrounded by a circle that represents the vital field. And I start with a quotation from a famous psychoneuroimmunologist, Christian Schubert, who has published textbooks in the field of psychoneuroimmunology, and now even an easy-to-read book where he explains it for everybody, how powerful the connection is between our thoughts, our emotions, our nervous system, our hormonal glands, and the immune system. And that is the discipline of PNI, psychoneuroimmunology. And the strongest phrase I found in his most recent book is the following: there is no difference between our feelings and our immune system. And this word is not from an esoteric yoga teacher, it's from a scientist who has an institute of psychoneuroimmunology at Innsbruck University in Austria, and he knows what he speaks about, because he has tested it in thousands of test individuals, patients, students, healthy people, people with illnesses, and he can prove that every thought we think, every emotion we have, can be measured in a change of our immune system, to the better or to the worse. If you worry too much, you block your immune system. If you create happy, creative thoughts and feelings, if you are in love with something, if you are in appreciation or thankfulness, your immune system gets immediately stronger. With the blinking of an eye, it's measurable. They did it with test people who carried saliva, test cotton pieces in their mouth, and were asked to give them to the laboratory every hour. And then these test persons wrote down what they experienced during the day, and they did it for 6 weeks in a row with a number of patients. And then they looked at the variations of stress hormones in their saliva and the variation of immune connected transmitters that you find in saliva, and they matched it with the diary of these patients and what they wrote about how they experienced the day. It was a perfect match. The emotional pattern of the day could be read and reflected in the chemical analysis of their saliva. And hundreds of studies like this have proven that psychoneuroimmunology is a very, very important discipline. When I studied medicine, and that's only 35 years ago, there was no psychoneuroimmunology. So it's a relatively new field. And Christian Schubert says that the future of medicine is awareness medicine. We have to change our mindset. We have to change our awareness in order to heal chronic diseases. So, the mind and the feelings is one aspect of my biofield. And by the way, there was a time where this was evident for everybody. It didn't need to be explained on a conference. And that was the time, maybe 2,000 years ago, when languages like Greek or Aramaic didn't differentiate between the spiritual part of our existence and the physical part of the existence of a human being. And the word that reflects that very well is the word for spirit or breath in the Greek language. It's the same. To pneumato is both breathing or the breath, and it's the spirit. So There was a time where there was monism, where things belonged together and where the world was one. The world still is one, but man trapped or fall into the trap of dividing the world into a spiritual world and to a physical world, and that is probably not reflecting the truth. And psychoneuroimmunology proves today that it is one world. Our emotions affect our body affects the world of emotions. It's one world. So topneumato is a real concept of both spirit and breath. And it's interesting that it's a word about breathing, because all true healing starts with breathing exercises or breathing better. That's something yoga teachers will understand immediately. And if you have done yoga and worked with yoga, you know what I speak about. And we had it yesterday in the morning. No, not in the morning, when the conference started at 2 o'clock, that breath exercises are very important. And there's more and more evidence that this is true, measured with experiments with people who did breathing exercises and improved their immune system dramatically. So, the mind and the feelings affect the bioterrain of a human body, and the bioterrain, all the biochemical reactions in our blood, in our lymph fluid, change the way the immune system behaves. So the immune system does not hover in empty space. It's connected to our entire bioterrain, and it's connected to the cloud of our mind, to the quality of our mindset and our feelings. Keep that in mind when we now go through this circle of 12 factors. And I start with psychomental stress. Psychomental stress is most likely the number one cause of too early death in Western world countries. This is a quotation from the World Health Organization, and it's more than 15 years old. I found it in a book about psychomental aspects of diseases and stress by a Swedish cardiologist. So psychomental stress is something that changes the biofield of everybody today more than what we would believe. It's the number one cause of all chronic diseases. And we all know what psychomental stress is. So let's start this unhealthy spiral of 12 factors that cause chronic diseases, inclusive cancer, with the psychomental stress, and look what follows, what possibly follows. If I'm in psychomental stress, I'm likely to eat more sugar, because sugar gives me fast energy and persuades me to overcome the stress with an energy kick in my brain. So the next step to the left is high blood sugar, and as a consequence of high blood sugar, I develop more insulin, and my pancreatic gland, the beta cells in my pancreatic gland, produce more insulin, and as a consequence of that, I change the quality of my gut flora. The next point to the right, I change my microbiome. And the microbiome is connected to the immune system, and together with some genetic impairments that carry from my ancestors, which is, by the way, only 5% of the causes of cancerous diseases. 5% of the causes are genetic. 95% in average are epigenetic, are not based on my genes that I inherited from my ancestors. But some of my genes may support the production of cancer cells, and together with an unhealthy gut flora, with some psychomental stress, with the high insulin and high blood sugar that I get from the excess of carbohydrates that I eat when I'm stressed, change the biofield step by step. The next step may be that I drink too little, and I start to get an intracellular water deficiency. Water doesn't get into my cells in a healthy manner, and that starts the next chain reaction. I may develop chronic infections, maybe in my gums, maybe in my intestines, maybe in the inner lining of my colon, because of an unhealthy gut flora and a change of my microbiome. And the next step is that I don't get the nutrients that I need because I eat the wrong food. I get nutritional deficiencies, and because I'm so stressed and I move too little, I breathe too little, and I get oxygen deficiency. And the next step is that this changes the way my mitochondria produce energy. I get a mitochondrial damage. As a consequence of that, I produce too many acidic waste products that I don't get rid of because I accumulate toxins. And on top of this vicious spiral, I develop more and more so-called silent inflammation. What is silent inflammation? We all know what inflammation is. We want to mount a picture at the wall. We take the nail and the hammer, but we hit our thumb instead of the nail, and we start an inflammatory reaction of our thumb. It's a very wise program in our body that is meant to repair what got lost. If I hit my thumb with a hammer, I cause a severe damage, a physical damage of the cells in my thumb, and my body immediately starts with a repair reaction called inflammation. So thanks to inflammation, we all survived many accidents and infectious diseases, and the symptoms are very well known: pain, swelling. With the swelling, I dilute the toxins that occur when I damage the cells, and with the redness, I cause a blood flow to the area that is damaged, and my body sends the building particles to the area that needs to be repaired. And the pain indicates, don't use your thumb for the next weeks, it's under reconstruction. So inflammation is very healthy. Thanks God we have inflammation. It took evolution quite a long time to establish inflammation the way we have it. But there is a pathological sister to acute inflammation, and that's called silent inflammation. Silent inflammation means that it doesn't reach the level of awareness as acute inflammation. You don't feel it. It doesn't get red. It doesn't swell up so much, but it's there. If you look at it with a microscope, if you ask a chemist, you find all the inflammatory parameters there. And silent inflammation is what drives the immune system into the wrong pathway and causes this concomitant immunity where immune cells don't attack cancer cells any longer. There is a molecular switch in our cells called NF-kappa B. It's a protein complex that switches the immune system from tumor attack to maintaining silent inflammation. And when that switch is in the silent inflammation way, your tumor cells are not attacked by the immune system any longer, and after a while the macrophages turn around and start to protect your tumor cells. M2 macrophages are cells who protect tumorous lumps, totally upside down. And the number one factor that causes it is silent inflammation. So after a while, this field of changing factors create a terrain that push healthy cells in a survival mode. Cells who are affected by these 12 factors try to survive. That's the very core of nature. Nature tries to find a way to survive. And the best way to survive in this unhealthy field for the cell seems to be the cancerous way. It switches off many genes. One of these important genes, or a number of genes, that are connected with apoptosis, with the natural death of the cell. And the cell rather becomes immortal than dying from the changed field and finds a way to survive. That's carcinogenesis. So, for those who want to read more about concomitant immune system and how the immune system is turned around by chronic inflammation, I brought this quotation from the Journal of Immunotherapy. It's relatively new, from 2017. The immune system in cancer and metastasis, friend or foe. And the conclusion of this article is that we have to work on the silent inflammation if we treat cancer. This seems to be a number one issue, to turn around or to cool down the silent inflammation, to turn around the totally upside down reaction of the immune system so that the immune system gets out of the inflammatory trap and back to its natural ability to attack cancer cells. So once again, this is the field, how I understand it, with 12 factors that push normal cells into the cancerous cancerous survival mode. And now we have to ask ourselves, what can we do to restore it? How can we change that? We want to create the healthy field again. And we can start with detoxification. And now I wished I had many hours with you to discuss in great detail the 12 points, but what I can do this morning is to give you a map, and from there you can go into the literature, or you can ask your doctor, or you can ask me how to accomplish these changes, effective detoxification. Roughly speaking, we have 4 pathways that detoxify the body. It's our breath, it's production of urine, of sweat, and stool. So if you follow these 4 pathways and try to improve your natural detoxification, you have a good starting point, and from there you can go into different methods like enemas, like herbs to stimulate liver detoxification with milk thistle, for instance, or sulfuric components, and so on. So detoxification, crucial. The nutritional deficiencies need to be uncovered. Charles mentioned it yesterday. Vitamin D is amongst the most important deficiencies that are connected to the risk to develop cancer. So everybody should measure the vitamin D level from time to time and supplement vitamin D if you live in a country that does not provide you with sunshine. My country doesn't do that, so from September to April I have to ingest vitamin D from capsules because there is no sun. And even people who live in countries that are blessed with sunshine, I've measured vitamin D levels in their blood that were super low. I had patients from South Africa, from Arab countries, from California with vitamin D levels below 10. So what did they do? They lived inside and they protected their body with sun cream and obviously spent most of the time in-house. Nutritional abundance, selenium, iodine, zinc, or magnesium are elements, trace elements that very many people lack today. So just to give you a first idea of supplementation that mostly everybody needs today, zinc, iodine, magnesium, omega-3 fatty acids, and vitamin D. Intracellular water deficiency. There is a very interesting book by a British doctor with a Persian background, Dr. Bahman Jalid, and the title of this book is "You're Not Sick, You're Thirsty. Don't treat thirst with remedies, drink." So there's a point with that book. It's maybe a little simplified, but if you drink more water, your health goes up. In average, adults drink too little, and elder people drink much too little. So drink enough pure water. Get yourself a good water filter and drink pure water. 2 to 2.5 liters a day is my recommendation. And you get rid of the intracellular water deficiency. There's a very interesting book about the quality of water by an American water expert. Gerald Pollack from Washington University is a biophysicist, and in one of his books that's called Gels and the Motor of Cells, he mentions that water deficiency might be a main reason for cancers, for the development of cancerous cells, for carcinogenesis. Gerald Pollack. So drink more water. Oxygen deficiency. It was awarded twice with a Nobel Prize that cancer cells thrive in the absence of oxygen. Otto Warburg, a German doctor and scientist, received his first Nobel Prize in 1932 because he discovered 2 things. Cancer cells love sugar and they thrive in the absence of oxygen. So poor oxygen is one of the field factors of a cancerogenic field. Make sure you get more oxygen in your body. Move more, practice more, and learn to breathe more deeply. And then there are oxygen therapies. If you go to a complementary clinic, you can be treated with oxygen inhalation, with ozone therapies, with oxygen injections, or with intermittent hypoxia inhalation treatment, so there are very many interesting oxygen therapies available nowadays, but it starts with more exercise, spend more time in nature, and move more. Take care of your gut flora and check your gut flora with a stool analysis. There are laboratories that can check your gut flora and give you a map of your microbiome, and then you can repair the damage, and you know what probiotics you need. And in general, I recommend people to eat more fermented food, fermented pickles, kimchi. In Germany, we love sauerkraut. That provides us with lactobacilli and other healthy probiotics. And by the way, cabbage is something that is very healthy and fights breast cancer. So sauerkraut is really a very healthy nutrient. So take care of your gut flora and repair it. The connection between the gut flora and the immune system is dramatical. There is no immune system in a good balance without a good microbiome in the background. 70% of our immune cells grow along the inner wall of the small intestines. So that alone shows us how important it is to have a healthy gut flora. The quality of our microbiome correlates with our life expectancy. That tells everything. If we have a good microbiome, we live longer. Psychomental stress. Yeah, big topic. The challenge of our time. We do too many things at the same time. We have too many mobile phones, too many stimuli that overwhelm us. Spend more time with yourself, spend more time in nature, deepen your spiritual roots, practice your spirituality in the way you feel the spirit, and get out of the hectic buzz of a modern life from time to time. Otherwise, stress threatens you and will cause a too early death. In this field of cancerous factors, I learned that inner conflicts, everything that is connected to guilt and shame, plays a very, very important role. And as one component that we work with at our clinic, we provide mental training and training sessions with a mental coach that helps you to find your inner conflicts and to go into a healing meditation where you practice forgiveness towards the one who came into your life and challenged you, and to practice forgiveness for yourself. Very powerful, very important. And I need to say at this point in time here in the presentation that my personal experience since more than 20 years is that the successful patients that I see, and it's a growing number, work on both sides. They work on the side of silent inflammation and the biological factors, but they also work on the side of psychomental stress and inner issues and inner conflicts. And if you do it from both sides, the success is inevitable. High sugar and high insulin needs to be balanced with a low-carb diet. I went through different phases of dietary schools in my life as a medical doctor. Once I was in the corner of ketogenic. Today I'm more balanced. I do not recommend ketogenic to everybody. There are certain patients who might benefit from a ketogenic protocol, but it's not what I recommend everybody. This is what you need to look at individually. Where is the patient? What is her nutritional status? What kind of cancer? So again, a very complex field, but in general, I recommend low carb diet to reduce the production of insulin, because insulin is pro-inflammatory and it's a stimulant for cancer growth. So balanced blood sugar. Balanced, you will hear me a few more times pronouncing the word balanced. I learned that balanced is much better, much more powerful than extreme therapies. I abandoned all the extreme recommendations that I once heard and tried out, like extreme alkalinity diet or extreme only raw food juicing. I don't find the extreme therapies very helpful. I look more for a balanced way to keep the body alive with various therapies in a balanced way. The genetic impairment or the disposition can be checked with a gene analysis to find out your gene SNPs, the single nucleotide polymorphisms, the little variations that we carry that some of us might not be able to use normal vitamin B12 or folic acid, but we need a methylized form of it. That's a very, very famous, very common single nucleotide polymorphism that some of us cannot use non-methylized B12 or non-methylized folic acid, just as an example. So we can go into the genetics and do a gene test and find out what we need more and what less. Next box here is mitochondrial damage. And I just read a brand new book about mitochondrial medicine and the medicine of the future, published by a Canadian naturopathic doctor, Lee No. And brilliant book, and I learned a lot from that book, how to empower our mitochondria. It's about orthomolecular medicine and the right supplements to provide the energy plants inside our cells with the right supplement, with the right trace elements to do their work. And now again, we could go into the depths of mitochondrial medicine and spend a few hours there. The summary is go and check your deficiencies and get help from a doctor who is experienced in mitochondrial medicine that helps you to get the right orthomolecular supplements to help your mitochondria to gain power. The most famous ones are coenzyme Q10, L-carnitine, selenium, magnesium, very important for the mitochondria too. And high altitude training. Is that common or have you heard that in the States already? Hypoxia training, that you inhale for 10 minutes in a row air with too little oxygen and then a few minutes air with normal oxygen, and you do that alternately. It's called high altitude training or hypoxia training. It stimulates the growth of healthy mitochondria and it causes the old and the impaired mitochondria to die. It's something athletes do, and now it has reached the level of knowledge of certain neurologists and cardiologists, because it's very powerful to treat patients with heart diseases with hypoxia training. And we use it since a couple of weeks at our clinic, because everything that helps you to develop more powerful mitochondria is automatically an anti-cancer treatment as well. So mitochondria medicine is the medicine of the future. We balance over acidity. I have to speed up a little bit and strive for a healthy balance between alkalinity and acidity. And I have to warn you from exaggerated concepts of alkaline therapy. I've never seen that it works. If somebody told me that I've tried out the baking soda therapy or got alkaline infusions in high amounts, health is not about alkalinity. Health is about the right balance between acidity and alkalinity. And from time to time, it might be helpful to replenish the body's storage of buffering systems like sodium carbonate, baking soda, but it's definitely not the cure of cancer if you just ingest tons of baking soda. That can be dangerous too. Chronic infections need to be treated, first found and then treated, and with the little time I have, I want to pinpoint root canal fillings as a very important source of a chronic infection that you might not have on your screen, but a good doctor can do a panorama X-ray of your jawbones and find out whether or not you suffer from chronic infections of root canal fillings. And altogether, we have to work on the silent inflammation with anti-inflammatory therapies, and that is omega-3 fatty acids, turmeric, green tea extract, healthy diet, And now you'll see that many of these factors interact with each other. If you drink more, you have a better detoxification. If you work on your silent inflammation, you automatically enhance your immune system and your mitochondria. So the factors interact with each other. But to make them more understandable and comprehensive, I drew these 12 factors out of the field so that you can learn more about them and check whether you have a deficiency on one of these aspects. Most patients have deficiencies on, I would say, all of them, more or less. And the system is not linear. It's not 1 and 1 equals 2. It's 1 and 1 equals 35 sometimes, because it's not linear mathematics. But if you know that there are so many field factors, you can check them one by one and do what you can do to improve your health on each of those 12 levels. And that is what creates a healthy field and allows healthy cells to thrive. So my summary is that we need anti-inflammatory therapies, detoxification programs, non-toxic cancer therapies. That's what I did not talk about in my presentation. Of course, we work at our clinic with anti-cancer therapies, because if cancer has grown to a certain extent, if you are in stage 4, you also need to downsize the tumors. But please do that with methods that don't kill your immune system or your vitality. The therapies that we provide is hyperthermia, naturopathic infusions, laser-enhanced therapy, magnetic field therapies. You can look it up on our website, and there are a few leaflets in the Banyan room that explain to you what we do. So we also work with non-toxic anti-cancer therapies. But I would say what we do is more than 50% to change the biological field that allows cancer into a field that empowers your immune system to work for your health. And then we have to reduce the cancerous lumps with non-toxic methods. Microbiome therapy, mental awareness training, forgiveness work, and anti-stress therapies, rehydration, mitochondrial therapies with automolecular medicine, pH balancing with diet and supplements, anti-infectious therapies, nutritional orthomolecular medicine, and low-carb diet are the elements that we work with. And this is a picture of our clinic. It's located in the middle of Germany, close to the city of Kassel, where the Grimm brothers collected the fairy tales. So Walt Disney made them world famous. Where do they come from? From the villages around Bad Emstal, actually, where they were collected by William and Jacob Grimm 250 years ago. So that's the fairy tale surrounding of our clinic. And if you have questions, don't hesitate to send us an email or contact us. Would be wonderful to stay in contact with you and to continue to do this work together. Thank you very much.
So I go to an immunologist in Milan because I really believe in the immune therapy approach. And one part of what we do is we check on, I guess you could say, the immune therapy agent periodically after I have continued to take the natural medicine. And you said before that our immune system can switch in the blink of an eye. For example, if I'm feeling really great and then the next morning something bad happens, it could go down. So one thing I'm curious, since these many of them are saliva tests to see how my interleukin levels are, like IL-12, IL-2, etc. They have a certain cost, obviously, so I'm wondering how reliable is that as a gauge of how my immune system is really doing? Is that just a snapshot of that 1 second? Because I'm spending a lot of money on that. I'm spending money on checkups, I'm spending money on medicine, which is worthwhile, but also these cost hundreds and hundreds of
Yeah, I understand. Thank you for the question. I would not spend too much money on interleukin measurements in your blood because it's a snapshot, and you literally can spend thousands of dollars for a few snapshots. I would rather invest that money for therapies and supplements and precious nutraceuticals, probiotics, and devices like an infrared sauna or a pulse magnetic therapy device. If you ask an immunologist today what is important and compare that with what he would have answered a year ago and what he possibly answers you in a year in the future, it differs too much. The immune system is just very, very, very complicated. It's difficult to measure. What I do from time to time is of course, a CBC, a complete blood cell count, with the differentiation of lymphocytes and natural killer cells, and T regulatory cells represent the level of inflammation pretty well. That is doable under $100. But more than that, you literally can spend thousands of dollars for immunology tests. And today, I don't see a point with that. I don't recommend that to my patients.
Yes. Thank you very much.
My question, doctor, has to do with the efficacy of high-dose IV vitamin C, turmeric, quercetin, etc. appears to be coming online here.
Yeah. Huh. So I repeat your question. The gentleman asked me, what is the hello? No. Yeah. So the gentleman asked me what I can say about the efficacy of IV vitamin C, high dosage, quercetin, turmeric drugs. Well, what a question. That's a question for a conference. What can I answer here? I regard IV vitamin C high dosage as one of the most efficient naturopathic ways to keep cancer under control. It's not the magic bullet. And by the way, I didn't find a magic bullet so far. That's why I have to combine so many things and make a strong chain of synergy effects. But IV vitamin C high dosage, everything from 50 gram and more than 50 gram per infusion, is a very effective and totally non-toxic treatment if you don't have the glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase deficiency, something that is rare in our population in Europe. It's more common in some parts of Africa and Asia. But let's say you don't belong to this group of enzyme deficient people. You have no toxicity from high dosage vitamin C. You get thirsty, and the remedy for that is water. So it's a very, very powerful naturopathic, relatively low-cost treatment. IV turmeric is one of my favorites. I'm very grateful that we have the legal background in Germany to treat patients with IV turmeric that we get from a compound pharmacy. We also get IV catechins from green tea, epigallocatechin gallate, in dosages that equal 10,000 cups of green tea per shot. We have shoga oil, 6-shoga oil from ginger, something that has shown to be very powerful against breast cancer. And the difference between oral intake of turmeric, ginger, green tea, and vitamin C compared to the IV application is up to many hundred times higher concentration in your blood, and that, of course, gives you a much more powerful effect. Unfortunately, the oral ingestion of turmeric has limited effects because of its poor bioavailability. So the IV is much, much bigger.
We're going to have to encourage one question per person. We're going to have to encourage people to talk to you privately because we only take 2 more. Because there's no time. And keep your answers short. Okay.
I try to keep my answers short because complexity is the problem. So
vitamin D levels. Obviously, here we recommend 30 to 100, which is ridiculous.
Milligram. Yeah, that's ridiculous. Yeah.
So my question is, what do you usually like your levels at? And just to remind everybody that when you do go to whether it's your physician, you can ask for it. A lot of patients always say to me, well, they didn't check it, I don't know. Ask for it. Just say I would like for you to check my vitamin D. So what number do you
Do you recommend? Yeah, well, we have to differentiate two things that we expect from vitamin C. Yesterday in Dr. Charles' presentation, it was much about vitamin C as an antioxidant, as something that protects our vitality. This is one chapter, and I agree perfectly with what he said. 500 milligram up to many gram, 4, 5, 6 gram oral intake per day is what I recommend, depending on the situation. And then full stop, period. New chapter. Vitamin C as an anti-cancer drug requires dosages above 50 gram per infusion.
Thank you for that. The vitamin D level as in
D, oh sorry, D.
Okay, D is important too.
Yeah.
Do you always recommend P6, PD for above?
Yes.
50?
Yeah.
Okay, but D is what?
D. Woo. D levels. Well, we check it. My personal dosage the last weeks was 10,000 a day. Some of my patients get shots with 200,000 a few times to really replenish their storage. When they come and have 5 or 10 nanogram per milliliter, I give them a few shots with 200,000 and a daily dosage of 10,000 until the level is close to 100 nanogram per milliliter or a little above.
Great. So you were saying for the vitamin D level, you're saying 10,000 international units a day, but when we get our blood checked,
Well, I
that
strive,
number 30 to 100
I
would be
strive
100.
for a cancer patient, I strive for values between 80 and 100.
Great. That's exactly what I was thinking.
And for a healthy person, just to maintain health, I'm happy with values around 60, 70.
Great. You will have doctors here that say you're toxic after 40, just so everyone knows.
I know. I take the fight.
Good morning, doctor.
morning.
Excellent presentation. I agree with you with the aspect of trying to affect that silent inflammation. Now, did you say that it's directly related to the NF-kappa B?
Yes.
Can you highlight that, or are there any drugs or nutrients that you can actually use to restore that balance so that no longer do they view it as self, but as a foreign agent?
Yeah, the most powerful components I use is anti-inflammatory diet. So now we could speak an hour about anti-inflammatory diet. There are books written about it. No pork, little red meat, fish, Mediterranean diet, anti-inflammatory. Then I use omega-3 fatty acids in high dosages, 10 gram a day if it's necessary. Vitamin D as an anti-inflammatory component. Turmeric is a very powerful, it's mentioned in scientific papers that turmeric has the capacity to turn around the NF-kappa B. Proteolytic enzymes, and sometimes synthetic drugs like dipyridamole, sometimes
COX-2s?
COX-2, sometimes they're a little toxic too, but you have to balance it.
Yeah, I saw my levels of my C19 go down dramatically when I added Celebrex, COX-2.
Yeah, Celebrex, there are some single case stories reported about Celebrex that it has the potential to turn around pancreatic cancer. There's a presentation on PubMed about a patient who went into complete remission of pancreatic cancer only with Celebrex.
Just one last thing. You didn't really specify that author's name, the Canadian author about the mitochondria. His name was?
Yeah, Lee Know, like to know, K-N-O-W.
And do you know the name of the book?
Mitochondria and the Future of Medicine.
Okay, thank you, Doctor.